Next up is Deepak Sahu, who focuses on public health and has a strong background in healthcare solutions development. He has more than 10 years of strategy consulting experience working closely with strategic investors, private equities, and medical device companies at various stages of maturity. During the pandemic, Deepak has worked extensively in solving many supply chain challenges for strategic medical device companies globally. Deepak has a bachelor's in computer science, an MBA in international management from Germany, and an MPH from HSPS, I think a recent grad from 2011. Deepak, no, 2021, I'm sorry. Deepak's talk today is titled Managing Healthcare Supply Chain Risks, Need for a Resilient Strategy. Deepak.
Hi everyone. Before we get into this topic, I was not a believer of the supply chain. I tell you, from 2011, my wife has been trying to convince me that every problem is a supply chain problem. But I just realized in 2020. So when our professor Rick helped me to get some oxygen concentrators into the Indian market, that I realized it's not about not all about profits. It is also about balancing policies. So this is my journey that I'm going to share with you, some of the thoughts and some of the secrets that as a management consultant, we get exposed into those boardroom discussions. So you can see some of those journey discussed out here. But before I move on, just to let some feedback from you. If anyone can guess with me the year of this image and the year of the news cuttings out there. Just help me understand, like, what's the year? Like, speak up. Come on. Huh? You okay?
So sorry,
If there is, good. Anyone else? You'll be astonished. I'm telling you. No one? Okay, let me take that. The one on the toilet paper is from 1973. So one of our comedians did a panic buy and we lost it. And it's not that we did not have enough capacity for toilet papers. We do not have enough capacity for right toilet papers. So we had enough capacity for commercial use, right? So the same thing happened in 2020, right? There was a panic buy. It's not that the toilet paper was not available, the capacity was not available for the right kind of toilet paper to be used at home. Those two news from Times in Los Angeles Times. So those are 2009 H1N1 pandemic. This is not 2020. So we keep on repeating our mistakes. So just to let you know, this is some mistake that we did not discover just that we had a pandemic in 2020. Let's go to the next question. We just had a great panel on the war, right? Can anyone help me guess how many wars or how many conflicts are right now in the world? Apart from Ukraine, it's on all of our top of our minds. So how many conflicts are there? Close. Anyone? Okay, I got 12 minutes. I have to move on. So this is what the conflicts are. On one side is the physical conflict, those are 16. If you look at, they're all across the major trading channels. So we are all fighting for the routes. On the left-hand side, I took it on September 21st, 4 p.m. when I was preparing the slide. So you can go to the websites below and see that every minute the statistics change on the cyber war. So that's the cyber war statistics out there. There's an information war that is going on every second and every minute year over year. And why is it critical for supply chain? Why is it critical for public health? And why are we over here discussing about it? Somehow in the last 2 years, we all have been impacted by this, right? We all know something is not available for us, either at the work or at the office, or could not buy a home, or could not get an endoscope. We do not know how it affected us, right? So what I will try to do is, let's go through what chain we are in. So what does a supply chain looks like? For many of us, we may think of it as a chain, as going from one place to another. I will put a map for a life-saving drugs that I cannot name, but this is very critical for it's a life-saving drugs, I would say. So see, the sponsor is in the US. The drug product is developed as an API in Europe. The excipients are being developed in in Eurasia, or you can call it in some part of the Asia. And the starting material are being developed in Asia Pacific. So this particular life-saving drugs had an impact on our supply chain in 2021, not because any of this supply chain failed. So when you look at the further dots over here that are not being mentioned, those which affected that particular supply chain. Just to be very specific, there was a fire in Asahi Kasai plant in Japan that led to the lack of production on the Japanese end over there and here in the top, and the entire life-saving medicine infrastructure broke. So this is how connected, this is what human beings have created for themselves, are living with themselves, and are going to live forever. And if you think this is something new, I would encourage you to go to the Met Museum in New York City, go to the Egyptian corner, and there will be a similar map. Just that the sponsor will be in Egypt, the supplies will be from somewhere else. It's not just something we started new, it has been there for ages, right? So this is a graph from White House publication that I put it over here, just for us to realize which part of the supply chain disruptions we are talking about. The blue one represents how much the retailers have on their shelves, and the orange represents how much the total business produces. So you see in 2008, when we had a bit of financial crisis, we had less amount of inventory out there. So there was a supply chain shock. We did not learn much. We focused on the financial aspect of it. Look at what we are facing after 2020. It's everything is on the toss, right? So when we speak about supply chain, this is the graph that we need to look at, and this is our overall businesses. Let me go to the supply chain and this is again a White House graph of which sectors have been affected. Look at where healthcare is. And we all talk about fire, we all talk about wars being the disruption, pandemic being the disruption. But last year, by the Resilient Event Watch, we had around 8,000 disruptions in supply chain. Life sciences was the most. And it's not in the slide. I would like to get into a guessing game. What is the biggest supply chain disruption event or events, or which events led to larger supply chain disruption in 2021? You'll be astonished to know that it's the factory fires. Okay. And what's the factory fires are related to? Lack of labor training, lack of labor policies, lack of policies being installed in different countries, right? So the disruptions are not just happening because we have war and we have pandemic, but we have something ingrained in us that is not being addressed properly. Now, when I go into the boardroom meetings, we always have discussion on these two strategies, just in time versus inventory. It's all, the boardroom is always divided. We go too far in just in time that we need everything produced as we need it. Inventory is expensive, so people will not have to have that on their balance sheet. Does not make sense, does not add to the shareholders' equity. So where should we be? And this is from our perspective, when we went across n number of boardrooms, neither of these strategies would have helped us to manage the crisis. So the discussion whether just in time is good or carrying inventory is good, it's just a non-starter of a discussion. Then we talk about cost efficiency and near sourcing. So there's a lot of move towards, okay, let's bring everything to the US. Let's start manufacturing in the US. We have the CHIPS Act that is being passed right now for the chips to be produced in the country, right? All good ideas, but to what extent you are planning to go? Can we ever free ourselves of supply web that we created for ages for us together? Never, right? So there are certain strategies that I want to discuss, and maybe those are quite different. Maybe we have never thought about it, and maybe some food of thought. We're not going to solve all the troubles today, right? So these are the three strategies we thought about in the company, along with the leaders, along with the board members. First is the supplier risk pooling. And this has been done in the insurance industry. We pool for risks, right? We pull money for the risk. Why cannot we pull the APIs for pharmaceuticals for risk? Can we have corporations tie up together and keep the competition for a little bit of time on the bay, not to get rid out of it, but can they store APIs that will be used for the manufacturing during the time of the crisis? Can they pool the critical strategic resources and keep it aside? It can be done. It just needs to balance again your profits and policies as a corporation, right? The second strategy is in the supplier transparency. So how many of us know that right now the cars are in competition with endoscopes? Seriously, and the endoscopes are in competition with my PS5 that I could not get during pandemic, and PS5s are in competition with F1 jets because we cannot have enough F1 jets ever. So the supplier transparency over here is quite critical. It's no longer evident that I know just my immediate suppliers, and it goes in every sphere, whether we talk about healthcare systems, whether we talk about our procurements, whether we talk about our people, the nurses, suppliers. So to look after the supply chain transparency is really critical, and it's also critical from a perspective of knowing where your suppliers are actually operating on, what their policies of the land look like. Is it a COVID lockdown that will affect them? Is it something that the water from the rivers will dry up and you cannot have your ships land into the oceans to bring the stuff to you? So you also need to be aware of that. And sadly, even though the supply chain or the inventory has gone into shareholders' equity, but the policies have never been a part of the shareholders' equity. We just get driven towards the value of the net income in our balance sheets or in our P&Ls. So the supply chain transparency, and the more we start asking it as an analyst, where are your suppliers from, will create more transparency. And a lot of onus lies in the government, but I don't think we can ever have a government fixing all our troubles at any point of time. The last is in the investment in the shared infrastructure. We have seen this photo time and time again. Long Beach, a lot of people out there, a lot of ships out there, nothing to be carried out. The problem is not about ships. The problem is not about the port authority too. We opened it up for 24 hours a day. The problem was with the truck drivers, and the truck drivers were because of our policies. We as retailers, we as businesses do not care about our last mile delivery. The truck industry is fragmented. The average truck driver makes $85,000 a day, and the truck driver is getting around 65 years age. So where are you going to deliver from a port to your last mile? So it's not going to happen, and it's not going to happen without corporates thinking that some of the values of the outsourcing or some of the profits from the outsourcing could be shared. Last but not the least, I am not an advocate of walking back into the civilization, right? So I'm not here advocating to get your profits down and forget about the activities. But what I'm trying to convey over here is some of these innovations, the data innovations that Sashish talk about, the work that we are thinking about in terms of managing our crisis, we need to also think about how do we enable our supply chain and invest from a policy perspective, rather than just profits. Thank you guys. So that's all. So that's all from my end.